Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley and I am here today to talk to you about my story. And you might be asking yourselves, what does this have to do with eBay? What does this have to do with reselling? Well, I will get there, I promise. I have 8 siblings, and to put it bluntly, we grew up pretty broke. My dad's job changed all the time, and I can't remember a time in my life growing up that we didn't feel financially insecure. In my lifetime alone, we moved to 11 different houses in 5 different states, all growing up. And I know my siblings that were older than me moved to many different houses as well. I was on the tail end of those 9 kids. And before my time, they moved constantly as well. And without getting into too much detail, my dad's job was just always changing. He was always searching for something else. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, but for reasons we won't get into here, my dad's job was always changing and he just never could seem to maintain a job at all. I remember that I wanted to go to a school dance when I was in junior high, but I was told no because we couldn't afford the $5 entry fee to the dance. That's kind of how broke we were. Anything extra, we couldn't afford. Bills were ignored, and we as kids were taught not to answer the phone. This is like before the days of caller ID and cell phones. We were taught not to answer the phone because it was probably a bill collector or the bank, and they were always looking for my parents or somebody to pay the bills. We were hounded constantly with phone calls. Debt collectors, landlords, always trying to reach my parents because there was always some bill that wasn't being paid. We had no regular dental visits, no regular doctor visits. It was too expensive. Unless it was an absolute emergency, we never ever went to the doctor. And I'm talking about life-threatening. There was a time when I broke my nose as a kid, and it was just slap some ice on it, and let's move on with our lives. So nothing short of broken bones or something, again, life-threatening would warrant a doctor's visit. When I finally got braces when I was in my late teens, I went to the orthodontist for a checkup, and the front office had told me I can't go anymore because none of my bills had been paid since day one, and it was like a year into it. I remember that I took my student loan money and I went back to the orthodontist and I paid in full my braces. But that wasn't a surprise because all growing up, bills were just not paid. They were forgotten about, avoided, and until it reached the point of eviction or something catastrophic, bills were just ignored. Like I mentioned, I took out student loans. I took out as much as I could, and that's how I was able to pay off my braces. Like I had mentioned, I lived at home at the time. My family had a restaurant where I had to work to help out because we weren't paid for our labor and we couldn't keep tips. And this was for many years. Because we could barely be paid, who could we hire? We had to keep it afloat. We had to pay our monthly bills just for the restaurant costs, so there was no money left over to then help pay its employees. When I finally moved out of my parents' house at the age of 21, the restaurant did help cover my rent for the apartment that I had with my sister, but pretty much anything above that was $50, $100. It was kind of whatever you can survive on for the week, if we were paid at all. It was kind of usually at the end of the week, hey, what can you live off of? What can you get groceries with? We'd get that check, and that was that. So I went to school, I worked, I lived at home until I was able to finally move out and rent was covered, but beyond that, I felt extreme financial insecurity. And to be honest, I felt completely trapped by my circumstances. I didn't have a car, I didn't have hardly anything. I once went to this free personal finance seminar, and they talked all about savings and investing and retirement and what you should do with your paycheck. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I want this so bad for myself. I want to be able to do this, but I had no consistent income. I couldn't save anything or else I wouldn't eat. But in that moment, I wanted that security so badly. That was like my first taste of really wanting some semblance of financial control in my life. But I had no consistent income, so how was I supposed to do it? After that seminar, I went to a Rite Aid where it was down the street from where I lived. And I asked them, hey, can I please have a job here? And the manager was there, and he sat down with me right on the spot actually and said, yeah, we are actually hiring. When can you work? And I told him I need a night shift because I explained my schedule was already pretty full during the day. I had school in the morning, I had restaurant work in the afternoon, and sometimes evenings, Friday and Saturday, and I needed work. And he said, when would you sleep? He was really nice about it, but he said, I can't hire you knowing that you have such limited flexibility with your hours? And that was the reply that I heard at Starbucks. I applied there. I applied at Barnes & Noble. I applied at pretty much anywhere that was nearby where I lived so that I could walk to work. And no one would take me on because, again, I was already working full-time and going to school full-time. So after I was denied these jobs, I cried. I will be fully honest. I just broke down and cried. I was so trapped and desperate. I had no idea what to do for money. When I was 23, this is its own story, so we'll save it for another time, but I did finally have the courage to leave the family restaurant and go get a job. I had some help from my wonderful older sister who guided me into the process of getting my own job, getting a place to live. I was starting from scratch. I still had debt from school. I had a job finally that paid me consistently, but it only paid me a little over $1,000 a month. I was still going to school actually, and I was getting my master's. So I had some semblance of control because I was getting at least a consistent paycheck, but it wasn't a lot. Often I was just too scared to even check my bank account, you guys. I just would go to the grocery store or go to a restaurant with my friends and just pray that like it would go through my card and not get declined. I was too scared to see what the reality was, and I still didn't have very good financial habits. I just hoped and prayed that I had enough to spend. I didn't spend a lot. It wasn't like I didn't get a credit card and go into credit card debt, but I was really scared and insecure with my income. I was so scared of money. It honestly just made my stomach hurt to think about. It made my stomach hurt to talk about. Whenever I would like hear Dave Ramsey on the radio, I would turn it off because I would get scared and like have anxiety. I was like, I can't even think about it. It was a really hard time. But then I met my wonderful husband, and neither of us had come from money, and I think both of us had a dream to make it so that finances didn't make us sick to our stomachs or cause us to have anxiety. We didn't start out with hardly any money, but slowly but surely we saved and budgeted, and then we both became pretty passionate about personal finances and managing money wisely. So through that budgeting and saving, we paid off my student loans, we invested, we found ways to save and be frugal, we saved for our home, our very first home. We were a team in building the future that we had always dreamed of, traveling with our kids, building our dream home one day, making sure our kids had college funds, and making sure that we had enough to retire comfortably one day. Hopefully earlier rather than later. So why am I sharing this story with you guys? Well, I hope to make this a community of both reselling, selling on eBay, selling things from home, making money from home. I'm super passionate about that. Hopefully that's obvious over the last years of doing videos and sharing that with you guys. But I also hope to make this a community where we can earn money in really smart and creative ways, and then use that money in smart and creative ways. Because reselling and making money online is exciting and really important, but almost more important is what you do with that money and how you can get it to work for you. So I hope we can learn about that and grow together. I mean, my husband and I are not experts. We're still learning and growing, but we have liquid investments through mutual funds. We both have Roth IRAs. My husband has a 401k that gets matched through his work. We have health savings accounts, 529 plans for our kids, crypto portfolio, single stock investments. We have equity in our home, and then of course both of our incomes. So I hope to make this a Finance Friday series where we go into a little bit more depth into each thing that I just talked about. Each of our investments, each way that we're putting away money, each way we're having our investments and our money work for us, and just go into more detail about our strategies with using our money well with all of you guys. And if I can help just one person feel less insecure about their finances, then I will feel like this series will have done its job. I just don't want anyone to feel the way I felt. I know how it feels to not have money. I know how it feels to be in debt. I know how it feels to be scared. I know how it feels to feel out of control of your life, to be scared of the doctor, scared of the dentist, scared of everything. It's just not a way to live. So I not only hope that this series can help at least one person. If one person watches, that's awesome. I've always been amazed that anyone other than my husband watches my channel, so I'm so grateful for you guys. But also that I just like sharing our investment and financial journey with you, as well as reselling. I've always been pretty transparent about the income that I make, and now I'd love to just share a little bit more about how we as a family are planning for our future. Thank you so much for joining me today, you guys. I appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if any of this sounds appealing to you, if you want to learn more, not only about selling on eBay, Amazon, and everything in between, but about managing your finances along with us. So thanks again, you guys. I appreciate you. Take care, and I will catch you next time.